Hi guys, welcome back to Plow and Pantry. I'm Alicia and today I am making some Vidalia onion and peach relish. I am just getting stuff in a bowl here. I'm actually having to make a half recipe today. I went to the store, and when I brought my peaches home, half of them in the bottom of the bag weren't very good. So I will link the recipe for this below. It comes from Southern Living. And I just decided to make half the recipe and use half the peaches, half the onions. So instead of using the 3 pounds of each that this recipe calls for, I'm using 1.5 pounds of peaches, 1.5 pounds of onions, and I will cut all my other things in half as well. But like I said, if you want to do the full batch, the measurements will be in the link below. This is a great condiment I first made several years ago for a 4th of July cookout. And it is great on hamburgers and hot dogs. Obviously, it's a relish. You can spoon it over fish or grilled chicken. It even goes good mixed into like potato salad. I'm going to get this along with some other ingredients into a stock pot and get it cooking down though. So in addition to the onions and the peaches, I will be using water and sugar, which I don't have out here yet, apple cider vinegar, salt, mustard seeds, got those out, celery salt. I just stopped by the store for that because I was out. Red pepper, crushed red peppers, some bay leaves that get crushed up in here, and I'm putting a little bit of Cointreau in mine. The recipe calls for gin. I can't stand gin. If you like gin, put gin in. You could probably just leave it out. There's only 1/4 cup, and there's enough vinegar in here that you probably don't need it as far as a preservative, but I'm just going to replace mine with Cointreau. That's what I've done in the past because I like that citrusy taste with it instead of gin. I don't like gin. Have I mentioned that I don't like gin? Ugh. Okay, let's go over to the stove and get this stuff cooking. Okay, so for like most relishes, I'm starting with some sugar and water and vinegar. I'm going to be using 1 cup of each. I want to use my half cup measure here. 1 cup of sugar. I'm using a half cup measure, so I need 2 scoops. 1 cup of water. I like to start with hot water. It doesn't really matter, but I do that just to help the process go faster. And then 1 cup of apple cider vinegar. You do want to make sure that your apple cider vinegar is 5% acidity, at least 5% acidity for the safety of your food. You can have more than that. The recipe does not call for that, but that's a pretty standard for pickling and canning, and so that I just always make sure that my vinegar has that acidity if I might be using it in canning. 1/4 cup of Cointreau, or gin if you're going to use that. And okay, time to add some spices. I need to add my recipe here. 1 tablespoon of salt, 1/2 tablespoon of mustard seed, just eyeballing that, 1 teaspoon of celery salt, I'm using my 1/2 teaspoon here, crushed red pepper, and a couple of bay leaves that are going to get crushed right into here. Normally when I use bay leaves for something, it's like spaghetti sauce and I'm looking to take them back out. But in this case, they're going to stay in here. Just crush them up in there. And I just need to bring this to a boil. Okay, this is up to a boil now. My sugar and salt are dissolved, and I'm going to dump in my onions and peaches. And I don't know if I mentioned that I did peel and pit the peaches before I chopped them. And I like to chop mine various sizes. I don't go any bigger than like 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. But I just like some of them to kind of disintegrate into there and just become part of the liquid, and some of them to stay chunks. So this has to come back up to a boil and boil for 15 minutes. And that boiling time will break down the onion and peaches. And so I want some of those peaches to be various sizes. So letting that sit and come up to a boil. I just realized that I totally forgot to add the garlic. Okay, now that this is at a full boil, I just need to let it keep boiling for 15 minutes. I will pop over here occasionally to stir it, but I won't stir it constantly. Okay, my timer just went off, and this does look ready. It's nice and thick and syrupy kind of. I'm gonna move this over to make this easier on myself. I've had my jars in the canner over here. Let's see, I need to find that handle. It always slides down on me. There it is. Okay. Let's get them out. I have 5 here because the recipe says it fills 10 8-ounce jars. So these are half pints. But I have made this before, and I made a full recipes before, and I don't feel like it made 10 jars. But we'll see. I've got 5 jars ready. By the way, you don't have to can this. You can put it in the refrigerator. Almost like a refrigerator jam type situation. I need a 1/2 inch headspace. If you see the like white cloudy look to my jars, that is because of my hard water, and that is why I put vinegar in my water when I can. If you've watched any of my other canning videos, you've probably seen me take this vinegar that I'm wiping the rims with and dump what's left of it into my canner. It helps with that so that they will come out more clear. I've had my lids sitting in warm water, fingertip tight on the jars as usual. These will go into my canner. The canning time is 10 minutes, but you have to adjust for altitude, and my altitude is 15 minutes. So I will start the timer once the water is boiling for 15 minutes. Then I usually let it sit for 5 minutes before I start pulling it out of the canner. I turn it off and let it sit just to let it kind of settle. I did get 5 full jars, by the way. So, and I have a little bit left. I'm going to put it in the fridge. All right, those go in. And when the water starts to boil, I will set that timer. So I actually ended up with a whole other jar of the relish from what was left in my pot. And normally I put an extra jar in when I'm heating, just in case something happens and I have extra, because canning seems to always be slightly off of whatever the recipe says. And every time you do it, it's slightly off differently. So I would normally have a jar to can this in, but since, of course, the one time I didn't do that is when I have a full jar left. Since this jar did not go through the sterilization in here with the other ones, I'm going to put this in the fridge and consider it unsafe to can, but I will use it this weekend, and it is beautiful.